In this video, I'm going to show you how to multiply a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. Example number 1, use long multiplication to find the answer to 679 times 42. So the first thing I'll do is to write an estimate of my multiplication. 679 is close to 700 and 42 is close to 40. 700 times 40 is 28,000. How did I do that? I did 7 times 4 is 28, and then times the 28 by 100, and times it then by 10. That will give me 28,000. So my final answer should be in the region of 28,000. First thing I need to do is to set this up in columns using place names for hundreds, tens and units. And then I'll fill the numbers in. So 679 times 42. It doesn't make too much of a difference whether you put the larger number on top or the bottom, but I would say that when you're multiplying 3 digits by 2 digits, it would be helpful to you later on to put the 3 digits at the top and the 2 digits at the bottom. The reason for that, just to mention, is that when you come to doing the addition, you're only adding 2 numbers at a time instead of 3. Okay. A word before we start about the direction of the multiplications that we're going to do. We always start in the bottom right corner, so we'll do 2 times 9, 2 times 7 and 2 times 6, and follow that with 4 times 9, 4 times 7 and 4 times 6. Okay, we will begin. 2 times 9 is 18, I'll put the 8 there, hold the 1 there. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, so I'll put the 5 there and hold the 1 there. 2 times 6 is 12, plus the 1 that I was holding is 13. So now I'm on to the 4, but because the 4 is in the tens column, it's really got a value of 40, and I know that any whole number multiplied by 40 or multiplied by a number that ends in a 0 is going to also end in a 0. So that's the first thing I need to do on the next line, is to write a 0. Now I can just think of this as a 4. 4 times 9 is 36. Write the 6 there, hold the 3. 4 times 7 is 28. Add the 3 that I was holding is 31. 4 times 6 is 24, plus the 3 that I was holding is 27. And now I add. 8 plus 0 is 8. 5 plus 6 is 11. 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. 1 plus 7 is 8. And 2 plus nothing is 2. So my answer is 28,518. Which is pleasingly close to my estimate of 28,000, making me think that I've probably got it right. The only way to really check that would be to do a division, but that's another video for another time. Before I show you another example, I would just mention that you've got to be very careful with 2 things. First of all, that you set out the numbers very clearly and separately in columns separately from one another. So make sure that the 9 and the 2 are quite clearly in the units column, that the 7 and the 4 are quite clearly in the tens column, and that the 6 is quite clearly in the hundreds column. And then pay very close attention to where you're writing your answers. If you don't line them up carefully, it becomes very, very difficult to see where you've got to, and it becomes even more difficult when it comes to adding. You could easily end up adding 5 and 0. You could end up adding 3 and 6 and 1 and 1 and completely making a hash of the addition. The second thing to mention are these numbers that you were carrying from the previous operation when you were doing the multiplication. Be careful not to involve them when you're adding the 2 numbers. So 8 plus 0 is 8, that's fine, there's nothing in the way there. But when I did 5 plus 6, I had to remind myself not to include that 1. That 1, if you remember, is only there because we did 2 times 9, which is 18, and that's where we held the 1. Do be careful. And then when I did 5 add 6, which is 11, I carried the 1 up here and I needed to be careful not to include in my addition this 1 or this 3. Okay, so just to recap those two basic but important fundamentals of doing long multiplication correctly. One is to make sure you pay very close attention to the way you're lining things up. Okay, and the second thing is just be aware not to involve the numbers that you've been carrying in the multiplication steps in the final addition that you do. Okay, let's do one more example. Let's do 527 multiplied by 34. So I need to do an estimate first. 527 is close to 530, and 34 is close to 30. If I do a quick estimate of what my final answer is going to be, I would do 3 times 53, which is 159, and then multiply it by 10 and by 10. That's the same as multiplying by 100. So I'm expecting an answer in the vicinity of 15,900. Okay, if I set myself up with 3 columns for hundreds, tens and units, then I can continue. So 527 multiplied by 34. Okay, a word again about the direction that we're going to do these multiplications in. First one is 4 times 7, then 4 times 2, then 4 times 5, and we'll follow that with 3 times 7, 3 times 2, and 3 times 5. Okay, 4 times 7 first of all is 28. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 2 that I was carrying is 10. 4 times 5 is 20, plus the 1 that I was carrying is 21. Okay, new line, start it with a 0 because we're multiplying something in the tens column. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 2 that I was carrying is 8. And 3 times 5 is 15. Let's do an addition now. 8 plus 0 is 8. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 5 is 7. And that's 1. So my final answer is 1,719, which is not too distant from 15,900, but I would probably want to do a double check using division. Okay, that's the end of this video. In the next video I'm going to show you how to multiply a 3-digit number by another 3-digit number.